Okay, the Terror of Devon Kill Team starter set has something that I don't know if a lot of people realized, but that is, of course, the Imperial Guardsman squad that is inside the box set is supposed to be these kind of infiltration and stealth specialists. And all I saw when I saw them in the community showcase from weeks and weeks ago was, oh my God, they're finally giving us a plastic squad of Tanith, which is all anyone has ever wanted for so long. Once they released that set, which had Gaunt and a couple of other of the amazing Gaunt's Ghost characters in there, we were all hoping and praying for a 10-man squad. And although this isn't officially a Tanith squad, I'm going to show you how to paint them up in today's video to match the Tanith scheme. And by the end of it, man, do they look like Tanith. They look awesome. So hopefully you guys are excited to see that. Before I get into it though, just a huge thank you to everyone there, as always, who continues to support the channel by liking, commenting, subscribing, and all that good stuff. It really does mean a lot to me, so please do continue to do that. Make sure you check out the other channels as well. And then also everyone out there who supports over on Patreon, you guys keep the lights on, the cameras rolling. Like I always say, it makes such a huge difference, so thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart. If you want to check it out for yourself, it's linked down below. You get access to a private Discord server, you get new videos every single week, you get extra Patreon podcast episodes, and we obviously try and give back every single month as well. And the one way we do that is by doing a giveaway. So this Mechanicum army is the giveaway of this month, which is May. So at the end of May, we're going to be giving away this set to one lucky Patreon. And all you need to do to win is to be signed up at any tier. Okay, without further ado, let's dive in and get these Tanith guys painted up. Okay, so these are the 3 miniatures that I put together that I want to paint up as Tanith to show you that these guys are the perfect models for it. There's only one small thing, or I suppose 2 small things that I would like to see added in that I might need to have to get my hands on. Is obviously the Tanith are quite famed for their knives, the Tanith war knife. And Scions seem to have something very similar, what I imagine a Tanith knife would look like. So if I can get my hands on a bunch of Scion knives, I don't think there's many on the sprues though. It might have to be a 3D print job to get some war knives. And then there is no option for a flamer in this 10-man squad. And Tanith are very famed for flamer squads. I'm very glad that there is tube charges, rockets, and I'm very glad that there are snipers. Those 2 things are super important for Tanith, but a flamer would have been incredible. So I might have to do something about that. But other than that, I think this is going to be amazing. When this set is released individually, I plan on buying another 4 box sets. So I have a full 50-man platoon of these guys. And I'm going to paint them all up like Tanith. I'm going to have Gaunt's Ghost Squad as like a command squad. And it's going to be awesome. I can't wait. So we started by spraying the model black and then grey sear, and then when that was all dry and ready to go, it was time to start contrasting. We started with some Black Templars contrast, and we applied that to all the fatigues. In all the books they talk about the fatigues being black on Tanith. And obviously these guys are stealth specialists, so everything is quite dull and quite dark on them. So I made sure to get all the fatigues in black, and then we moved over to Militarum green for their famed Tanith stealth cloaks, which every Tanith soldier will wear and use to great effect to blend into their surroundings and be completely hidden when they're fighting. After that, we're going to move on to a nice skin tone. So Guilliman flesh is going to be used. Now, a lot of these guys have forearms on show, so make sure you don't miss those when you're blocking in that color. And then obviously their faces. For quite a long time, I thought they were going to be hands as well, but it turns out that every single miniature is wearing gloves, which I suppose makes sense. Specialists like this are going to want to protect their hands when they're in combat. But it's so tight to the model, like they're such thin gloves that you could probably paint them as skin tone if you wanted that. That's up to you really. Gore Grunta fur is used for all of the brown leatherworks. These guys have some ankle protection like gaiters, but smaller, which I know wouldn't be leather, but these guys seem to. And then all their webbing and belts and tactical stuff like that is all going to go in a nice rich dark brown color as well. From here, we're going to move on to a nice silver color to block in the kind of last few bits of the model. So lead belcher is going to be used. And then obviously there's some buckles and catches. There's obviously the workings of the las gun. Now I know traditionally guards, Tanith ghosts have gnarl wood stocks on their rifles, or wooden stocks. And I almost played around with the idea of painting their weapons in brown, but I decided against it in the end. I thought it would have just broken apart that whole stealth look, so I just let it be. Agrok's Earthshade was then applied to the entire model, top to toe, to darken it all down and give it that kind of muddy, dirty feel, which I think suits the Tanith. They are described as being quite like, I don't know, gruff, if you will, is probably the right word. So I think an Agrax Earthshade all over suits them down to the ground. While that was drying, I decided to base the model. Just a little bit of texture paste with some dry brushing over the top of it. And rimmed the base black again just to keep it nice and neat and tidy. And then we are of course ready to start layering up these models. And you can see what the shade did. It did an absolutely great job of darkening the whole model tone down, which I think is a perfect place to begin the layering process. So Corvus Black was used first, and that was just to add a tiny pop of color to all of their black fatigues. You want them to still, of course, track as being black, but a little bit of highlighting never hurt anything. And it's just going to make it stand out just a tiny bit more. Of course, we are going to go in with all the stocks and all kind of the plastic coverings or whatever of all those las weapons are going to get done with a small coat of that Corvus Black as well. Okay, with that out of the way, it's time to start working on the awesome and famed Tanith Stealth Cloak. So for this, we're going to go for Lauren Forest as the mid-tone and Strachan Green as the highlight color. And we're going to take some time with this. We don't want it to, we just want it to look nice. So it's one of the kind of key features, especially for you as the person playing them. When you're pushing, in my opinion, like 50 of these models across the table, and you look down on the table, the Tanith Stealth Cloaks are what you're going to be noticing more than anything else. So I want to do a good job on them and have my models look awesome for me. So I'm going to very carefully layer up and then highlight all the ridges, all the folds, keep those nice and dark. I didn't want to rush it. I just want to spend a little bit of time on the cape just so it looks nice. And you can see me now going in with that highlight, being kind of sparse with it, not going kind of heavy. I'm just hitting kind of raised edges. The kind of most highlighted spots are going to get hit with that. This particular guy ended up being the kind of example piece that I used, although I am painting up all three of the miniatures as I'm going through this video. I did have a little bit of footage of painting each of them, but this guy is so Tanith. He screams like a Tanith trooper to me that I decided to just stick with him for most of this tutorial. But at the end, you will see all three of them painted up as a nice little squad. And you can see here how I'm highlighting those raised areas with the green. Just small, slick brush strokes, a little bit of feathering more than anything else. That's all you need to make these details pop. An example of what one of the finished Tanith capes look like. Nice and easy, simply done, but I think it makes a big difference. It looks really cool. And like I promised, I am painting up all three of them at the same time, so you can't see me working on this guy's cape as I'm going along. For the face of these miniatures, I'm not going to go crazy detail. I've done a million videos where I paint up face, but Cadian Fleshtone is used as the kind of highlight color. After that's fully dried, I do put a layer of Berserker Bloodshade to thin down, so basically apply it from my wet palette, so it's a tiny bit thinned with water across the skin, so it darkens it down a little bit. And then we just go in with a Kislev Flesh for a light highlight across some of the kind of more raised areas, kind of tips of the nose, cheek, chin, those kind of bits. Leave the rest of it nice and dark. This will make those details pop without having spent kind of too much time on it. The Tanith are supposed to be traditionally quite pale troopers. They're very much Celtic, so they're kind of a mix between kind of Irish and Scottish. So I guess that's why a lot of us Irish and Scottish have an affinity with the Tanith. So yeah, we don't have the greatest complexions, except me of course, but you know, in real other people, nice and pale. Touch of Mornfang Brown was then brought in and used to highlight up all of that webbing, all of the nice straps and leather pouches and stuff. Like I said, you don't want to go crazy with this. You don't want it to be too bright either. This thing Mornfang is about as bright as I would go. These guys probably wouldn't have leather belts and leather straps, but I'm not really sure what their webbing has been described as. If they were black webbing, I don't want to do that either, because then it would just be completely invisible next to the model. So although it is a little bit bright. And then of course going in and highlighting the silver parts with just going back to that original lead belcher color. I'm using it to add a little bit of scratching work to the rifle, so you can see I go along the edges of it. And just adding a tiny bit more, you know what I mean, wear and tear to these battle rifles. And of course with the main weapons as well. So this is our finished gunner with a stubber, which of course is a very famous Tanith weapon as well. The sergeant with his kind of cut down carbine version. Something like McCall would carry a weapon like this. And then our typical standard Tanith trooper all finished off looking quite slick. So you tell me, do you think these guys sell the idea of Tanith? I think they're pretty perfect. And I'd love to know your opinions and thoughts on this. I'd also like to hear your thoughts and opinions And then also, are anybody planning to follow my footsteps, or does anyone else have the idea to make these guys Tanith troopers? I'd love to hear all of that down in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. Hopefully you love it, and I will see you guys in the next one.